Well, hello there. Welcome back to another walkthrough. This week we're looking at Chapter 10 Chamber Program. This will be our last Word walkthrough before we move into Microsoft Excel. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and come to our Canvas course here. We'll scroll down to Word Chapter 10 and we'll click on our MyLab IT course content. And once again, click on Word Chapter 10 and download Word 10G Chamber Programs. And when you click on your download materials, remember to download each one individually. Do not click on this download all files. This particular assignment will be one of the more complicated ones that we've created so far. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and open up our student file and hit enable editing. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in to make it a little bit easier to see. So in this particular assignment, what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to create a table of contents, a table of figures, and also how to create an index at the end of your document. Some of the things that we're going to do in this document are usually meant for larger documents, but this should give you the skills that you need to create many of these items in larger documents. So we're going to go ahead and move right on to step number 2, where it says apply the heading 1 style to the paragraphs, networking, special events, workshops and seminars, and chamber events. Now you can do this all at one time, or you can do it one at a time. So if you were to go ahead and highlight networking, when you highlight networking on the home tab here, you could go ahead and select under the styles group heading 1. However, if you'd like to be a little bit more efficient, you could go ahead and highlight. So we're going to go ahead and start with special events. I'm going to go ahead and highlight special events. I'm going to scroll down until I find workshops and seminars, and I'm going to hold down the control key. I'm going to hold down the control key and highlight workshops and seminars. Then I'm going to let go of the control key. Notice when I let go of the control key, it still keeps everything selected. You do not want to hold down the control key while scrolling. So if you hold down the control key while scrolling on your mouse, it will zoom in and zoom out on you. And we don't want to do that. So you want to let go of the control key before you scroll. Notice how they're both still highlighted. I'm going to go down to other chamber services. Once I get there, I'm going to hold down the control key again, and I'm going to highlight other chamber services. So now if you look, letting go of the control key before scrolling, all 3 of them are highlighted. And now I can click on heading 1 style, and they all change at the same time. Just remember, do not hold down that control key when you're scrolling. And if you find yourself having problems, go ahead and you can highlight one at a time and select heading 1 style. So now, on step number 3, it wants us to change the heading 2 style for all the headings underneath those heading 1s. So it wants me to highlight Morning Business Connection. I'm going to hold down the control key and I'm going to highlight lunches and mixers. I'm going to highlight ribbon cutting ceremonies. Now I have to scroll down, so I'm going to let go of my control key. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here. I'm going to hold down my control key again. I'm going to highlight business and training. Then I'm going to highlight new member orientation. And I'm going to highlight industrial forum. I'm going to let go of my control key. I'm going to scroll back down. Then I'm going to hold down my control key again, highlight government and relations, and highlight recycling programs. Now, let go of the control key, make sure they're all selected, and select the heading 2 style. Once again, you can go through here and highlight each one individually and set the heading 2 style. You don't have to do them all at one time. So now that we've highlighted those and we've made those heading 2 styles, let's go ahead and go down to step number 4. And it says beginning with the paragraph networking, we want to select all the text in the document and create a master document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the top, and starting with networking, I'm going to click before networking, and I'm going to highlight all the way down to the very end of the document, just like this. And I'm going to create a master document. To do that, I'm going to come up here to the View tab. And from the View tab, under our views here, I'm going to click on Outline. And under Outline right here, it says Master Document. I'm going to go ahead and click on Show Document. And once you click on Show Document, it will extend this over, and we're going to hit Create. And now what creating a master document does is it takes all of these different heading 1 sections that we created, and it actually makes them into their own separate documents. And the reason we did this is because we want to include at the end of this, right down here, a new section from another file. It says at the end of the master document, we want to insert our ambassador club. So let's go ahead and click on the very end here, or you can hold down Control End, which will take us down to the very bottom of our document, our outline here. And we want to insert a new document. So we're going to come up here to our master documents again, and we're going to click on the Insert button right here. And it should be under our Downloads folder, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my Downloads folder. And here it is, Ambassadors Club. I'm going to go ahead and click on it and hit Open. And what that will do is it will put that Ambassadors Club document in our document that we're working on. So it says it wants us to change the word various to numerous. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to read through this and find where it says various, and I'm just going to go ahead and change various to numerous. So now it should say the city and help coordinate numerous events. Alright, so now that we're done with that, we want to unlink all of our documents. So go ahead and click right here on Ambassadors Club. Come up to our master document, hit unlink. And we're going to do that for other chamber services. Let's go ahead and click on other chamber services, and let's hit unlink. Scrolling up, we're going to click on workshops and seminars, and we're going to hit unlink. And do the same thing for special events. Click on special events, hit unlink. And lastly, click on networking and hit unlink. Now that we've unlinked all the documents, it wants us to remove all the section breaks. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this section break here. And I'm going to hit the delete key. And then I'm going to come down to this section break here. I'm going to double click on it and I'm going to delete that. I'm going to double click on the next section break and delete that. Scrolling down, I'm going to double click on this section break, hit the delete key. If you're not seeing these section breaks, come up here to the Home tab and make sure under the paragraph grouping you turn on this paragraph mark. So if you're not seeing these section breaks, make sure you click on and make sure this button is turned on. Alright, going back to the outline. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on this section break, hit delete, highlight these section breaks, double click on them, hit delete. I'm going to double click on these section breaks, go ahead and delete those. And then last section break at the very bottom. I need to be careful because as I'm double clicking it wants me to delete the whole thing. So I'm not going to double click on this section break. I'm just going to put my cursor on that line and hit delete, and it will get rid of all of the section breaks. Alright, so now that those section breaks are removed, it wants us to close the outline view. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit the close button on the outline view. And it's going to take us back to our normal document. Scrolling down to the bottom, there's our Ambassadors Club. So that's now in our document. It wants us to put on page 1 a footer. We're going to insert the file name and we're going to insert on the left a plain number. All right, so I'm going to come up here to our first page, and I'm going to go to the Insert tab. From the Insert tab, I'm going to go to where it says Header Footer. I'm going to click on Footer and Edit Footer. So now it's going to take me to the footer. Make sure that you are on the first page footer. So I'm going to scroll back all the way up to the top, and I want to make sure that my cursor here is in the first page footer. I want to insert my file name, which we've done before. We're just going to come up here to our insert grouping right here. Click on Document Info and add file name. After you put file name in there, I want you to hit the Tab key. And then once you hit the Tab key again, it will take us all the way over to the right. Once your position is right here, we're going to come up here to the Insert, the header and footer. We're going to click on Page Number. And we're going to do Current Position. And we're going to do a plain number right here. And it will put in the number 1 right there on page 1. And we're done. So let's go ahead and close our header footer. So now for step number 7, it wants us to apply to the 4 tables captions. So let's go ahead and scroll down to our 4 tables that we have. I'm going to go ahead and click on this first table where it says recycling. I'm going to go to the References tab up here. And under Captions, I'm going to hit Insert Caption. And it's going to say Table 1 already put in for us. Make sure it says above selected item. So right here where it says Table 1, keep Table 1 there. Go ahead and do a colon, space, and type in appliances. Once you've typed in appliances, go ahead and hit OK. Alright, so now we have Table 1 Appliances caption above our table. Let's go ahead and click on the second table here. Let's do the same thing. Let's go ahead and click on Insert Caption. Right here where it says Table 2, go ahead and put a colon. Make sure you do a colon, not a semicolon. So colon, space, glass and aluminum. And make sure you spell everything properly. It will take points off if you do not spell it properly. Make sure it says above selected item, hit OK. Now let's do the same thing for the third table. Let's click on the third table, hit Insert Caption. Go ahead and do a colon, space, old tires. Make sure it says above selected item, hit OK. And then lastly, the last table, click on it, Insert Caption, Table 4, colon, space, scrap metal. And hit OK. So now all 4 of our tables have captions above them. Let's go ahead and move to step number 8. It says if a blank paragraph displays below scrap metal, we want to delete it. So there is, I have one right here, my blank paragraph. I'm going to go ahead and click on that right before that paragraph and hit the delete key and get rid of it. Now it says for each heading 1 paragraph for networking, special events, works and seminars, and other chamber services and ambassadors club, we want to use the mark entry dialog box to mark the text as a main entry. So what this is going to do is it's going to make our index a little easier to create. So let's go ahead and highlight the word networking. Once you've highlighted networking, we're going to come up here to our References tab under our index right here, and we're going to hit Mark Entry. And we're going to make it a main entry. And we're going to go ahead and hit Mark. I'm going to move this box out of the way so we can keep it open. Now I need to come over here to Special Events, and I want to highlight Special Events. I'm going to click back on this box. It should automatically put special events in for me. I'm going to go ahead and hit Mark. And I'm going to go ahead and highlight workshops and seminars. Once I've highlighted workshops and seminars, I'm going to go ahead and click on my box again and hit mark. And I'm going to scroll down to other chamber services. I'm going to highlight other chamber services. And I'm going to hit mark. And then lastly, for Ambassadors Club, I'm going to highlight the Ambassadors Club, click on my box here and hit mark. So now what I've done is I've marked all of my heading 1 titles to a main entry. So now what I need to do for step number 9 is to mark everything underneath those as a sub entry. And this is where things can get a little bit tedious. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to highlight Morning Business Connection. Once I highlight Morning Business Connection and I click on this box, it's going to make this my main entry, which is not what I want. I don't want Morning Business Connection to be a main entry. I want it to be a sub entry. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight this, I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to paste it under the sub entry. Now for the main entry, I'm going to have to type in networking. Make sure you have networking spelled properly, and I'm going to go ahead and hit mark. And now I need to do the same thing to lunches and mixers. I'm going to come down here, I'm going to highlight lunches and mixers. I'm going to click on mark entry box here. It's going to move it to the main entry. So now I'm going to have to highlight it, cut it, move it as a sub entry, and give the main entry, I need to type in networking again. And once we get through this all, it'll be apparent on why we did it when we put in our index at the end. So now that I've got networking here, make sure it's spelled properly, hit mark. And notice if you have your paragraph marks turned on, you should start seeing networking, Morning Business Connection, networking, lunches and mixers. So now we're going to get down to special events, which we've marked as a main entry. So now we want to highlight ribbon cutting ceremonies. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight the ribbon cutting ceremonies. Click on the main entry box. Once again, this is going to be a sub entry, so I'm going to cut it and paste it under the sub entry. Now my main entry for this one is going to be special events. So make sure you type in special events, make sure it's spelled properly, hit mark. Now going under workshops and seminars, I need to find business training, so I'm going to highlight business training. Come over here to my mark entry, click on it. Once again, cut this, move it to main entry or sub entry. And I need to type in for the main entry, workshops and seminars. Make sure everything's spelled correctly or it's gonna not work out properly. Go ahead and hit mark. Do the same thing for new member orientation. I'm gonna highlight new member orientation. Click on the mark entry box. Going to move it to the sub entry. And for the main entry, I'm going to type in workshops and seminars. Once I have that, hit mark. And then the last one under workshops and seminars, I'm going to highlight industrial forum. Click on the box. I'm going to cut the industrial forum, put it as a sub entry. And main entry again is workshops and seminars. And hit mark. And continuing down our last subsection here, we're going to do government relations. Go ahead and highlight government relations. Click on the mark entry box. I'm going to cut it, put it back in the sub entry. And I'm going to type in other chamber services. Make sure you spell everything correctly, put the right capitalizations, hit mark. And last one, we're going to do recycling program. I'm going to click on the box, cut it, move it to the sub entry, and now I'm going to type in other chamber services and hit mark. Now we do not have anything under Ambassadors Club, so we are done. Let's go ahead and close this box. So now we have marked all of these heading 1s and heading 2s either as an entry or a sub entry. So now we need to go to the end of the document. So hold down your control key and hit end. It will take us to the end of the document, or you can just go ahead and put your cursor at the end of the document if you have a Mac. And we want to insert a manual page break. So to do that, we're going to go to the Layout tab. From the Layout tab, we're going to click on Breaks. And we're going to do a page break. Now on our next page, on our blank page here at the top, let's go ahead and type in the word index, all capitalized. Once you've typed in index, hit enter 2 times. Now it wants us to select the text that we've typed, so let's go ahead and highlight index. We want to change the font size to 16, so I'm going to go ahead and use my little floaty toolbar that popped up here. I'm going to click the down arrow and hit 16. So now I want to bold it, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit the B button here for bold. And I want to center it, so I'm going to hold down Control E to center. So now I have index, and it is now centered with a font size of 16 and bold. So now in the last paragraph, it wants me to insert the index. I'm going to hold down the Control key again and hit end, or I'm just going to go ahead and click at the end of my document. And I'm going to go back to my References tab. Under my Captions grouping, under my index grouping, I'm going to click on Insert Index. Under Formats, I want to make it the formal format. So scroll down, find Formal. And I want to make sure that the page numbers, make sure you have a check mark next to Right Align Page Numbers. And hit OK. And now that will put in an index for us. And that is what we did with all those mark entries. Notice how we have an Ambassadors Club networking. Underneath that, we have the 2 sub entries. Under Chamber Services, other Chamber Services, we have our 2 subdirectories, special events, and then the same thing for workshops and seminars. So now we have created an index based on all of the headings that we have in this document. And what's really nice is if we make a change, we can just right-click on that, update it, and it will put everything on the right page numbers, which we'll actually do later in the assignment. So now for step number 11, it wants me to hit Control Home. So I'm going to hold down the Control key and hit Home, which is going to take me to the top of the document. You can scroll to the top of the document and click on it. It wants me to insert a next page section break. So I'm going to come up here to my Layout tab. Under Breaks, under Section Breaks, I'm going to do a next page. Once I do that, I want to hold down the Control key again and hit Home, which is going to take me up to the top of the section break that we just created on the page 1. If not, you can just go ahead and click on the line right before it. We're going to apply the normal style, so I'm going to hit the Home tab, and I'm going to make sure I click on Normal. And I'm going to, in all caps, type in Table of Contents. Once I've typed in Table of Contents, hit Enter 2 times, 1, 2. Now, highlight Table of Contents. Change the font size to 16, bold, and center. Now I need to click to the left of this paragraph mark right here. So I'm going to click right to the left of the paragraph mark. And I want to insert a table of figures. So I'm going to go back up to my References tab here. I'm going to find my table of contents. Let's see, table of contents. I'm going to insert my table of contents, which is right here under the table of contents grouping. I'm going to go ahead and click on table of contents and go all the way down to custom table of contents. It's going to open up that dialog box like we got with the index. Same format. We're going to click on the format and we're going to do a formal format. And go ahead and hit OK. And now I have my table of contents. Now for Mac users, there are alternate steps for you, so make sure you check out step 11 for Mac users. So notice now, for all those heading 1s and 2s are now put on their table of contents, automatically put in for us. So now we want to go ahead and save our document. Let's go ahead and just hit the save button real quick, make sure it's saved. And now it wants us to, on page 1, to put our insertion point at the last paragraph. So I'm going to put my cursor right here before this paragraph marking. And it wants me to insert a manual page break. So I'm going to hold down the Control key and hit Enter. Control Enter will put in a page break for me. If that doesn't work for you, you can come up here to the Layout tab. Under Breaks, you can hit Page Break. But Control Enter puts in a page break, and now I have another blank page for page 2. I'm going to put my cursor to the left of the page break here, this paragraph marking. I'm going to type in table of figures, all capital, then hit enter. Now I'm going to highlight my table of figures. I'm going to go to the Home tab. I want to change the font size to 16. I want to bold and center. Now to the left of the paragraph marking here, we're going to actually insert our table of figures. Let's go to the References tab. Under our References tab, under Captions, click on Insert Table of Figures. Once again, we're going to use the formal format and go ahead and hit OK. And now that will put in our table of figures, which are those 4 tables that we created on page 4 and 5. So now that we've got that in there, let's go ahead and save our document again for good measure. And now we're on step number 13. It says on page 1 in the footer, we want to change the number format. So let's go ahead and scroll up to page 1. And let's go ahead and click on right before table of contents. Let's go to our Insert tab. Let's click on Footer and Edit Footer. So here we want to highlight just the number 1. So put your cursor and highlight just the number 1. Then right click on number 1 and hit Format Page Numbers. And we're going to have this little page number format box pop up. And it wants us to change the page number format to I. So right here, number format, I'm going to hit the down arrow. I'm going to find the I, double I, triple I, click on that. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And now notice how I have I here, I have double I there. Now on page 3, notice how it starts with the page, which starts with the number 3. Well, we want to change that. We want to make it start with page 1. So now let's go ahead and click on page 3. Let's click on the number 3. Make sure number 3 is highlighted. Right click on it. Hit Format Page Numbers. And what we're going to do here is make sure it says 1, 2, 3. We're going to hit Starting at 1. And go ahead and hit OK. And now what that will do is it'll change this to the number 1. So now page 1 is I, page 2 is I. Then we have 1, 2, and 3, making our index on page 4. So let's go ahead and close our header footer. Now the problem is now our table of contents is wrong because networking is no longer on page 2. So let's go ahead and right click on our table of contents and hit Update Field. And update page numbers only. And once you do, notice the page numbers will change to the right page numbers. We're going to do the same thing for the table of figures. I'm going to right click on Table of Figures and hit Update Field. And update page numbers only, hit OK. Notice how it now changes the page numbers to 2 and 3. And then the same thing, I'm going to scroll all the way down to our index. I'm going to right click on our index, hit update field, and now everything should be correct and everything's on the correct page numbers. All right, so now we want to hit Control Home to take us to the top of the document. So now that we're at the top of the document, we're going to come up to our Insert tab. We're going to insert a cover page. So under our Insert tab, under the Pages grouping, we're going to click on Cover Page. And we want to find the one that says Retrospect. So right here it is, Retrospect. I'm going to click on Retrospect. And it's going to put in a title page for us, or a cover page. So in the document title, we're going to take and we're going to put in Chamber of Commerce. Make sure you spell everything correctly. Make sure you capitalize both C's. And in the document subtitle, let's go ahead and put in Program Descriptions. And make sure Program Descriptions is spelled properly. And it wants us to select the shape down here. Now that I got this, click on this box here. I'm going to click on the outer corner right here. I'm going to click on this dot here in the corner, and I'm going to hit the delete key. And when I do that, it's going to get rid of that box for me. And now your cover page should look like this. Now it wants us to insert a watermark, Draft 2. So I'm going to come up here to my Design tab. Under my Design tab, under Page Background, I'm going to click on Watermark. And I'm going to find where it says Draft 2 right here. And what it's going to do is it's going to put Draft behind, in a watermark behind my cover page. All right, for step number 17, we want to put in some document properties. To do that, File tab here, and we're going to go to our Info grouping and Show All Properties. And I'm going to add a tag. It's going to be Chamber Programs, all lowercase. And it wants us to remove the Go Series author. So right click on Go Series, hit Remove Person, and then add your name as the author. And that's it. We are done. Let's go ahead and hit the Save button. I'm going to hit the Save button again for good measure. And I'm going to minimize my document, come back to my Download Starting Materials, close out of this box, choose File, go to my Downloads folder, and there it is, my Word, Student Word 10G. It should have your name. Hit Open and Upload. And I will submit for grading. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this tab, come back to my My IT Lab course content. I'm going to click on the three dots here, hit View Submissions, and it looks like I got 100%. You can go ahead and click on that submission, and you can scroll down and see what you did wrong if you got something wrong, and you can go back and fix it. Well, that concludes our walkthrough. Please reach out if you have any comments or questions, and have a wonderful day.